Welcome to the Past in Pictures channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one.
The historical impact of Hiroshima marked the beginning of the nuclear era, highlighting the deep consequences of military technologies that changed the idea of conflict. On August 6, 1945, the episode left lasting marks on world history, influencing treaties and debates about the use of this kind of technology ever since. The life of Francesco Lentini, born with a rare congenital condition, reveals the cultural and social changes that allowed people with physical differences to take part in public performances. His presence in variety shows showed the impact of medicine on how body differences were understood. In the 1960s, Sophia Loren gained worldwide attention by acting in Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow, a milestone of Italian cinema with strong impact in Hollywood. This production showed how film stars strengthened their international prestige during the era of classic glamour. The Chernobyl episode highlighted the challenges of nuclear energy, becoming the largest nuclear event of the 20th century in the 1980s. Its technological impact increased global concern about safety and the environment, leading to strict future measures and regulations in the nuclear sector worldwide. The Ipatiev House in 1928 reveals classical architecture with arched windows, marking a period of transition in Russian history. At this location, about a decade earlier, the last Romanovs had their fate sealed, ending an era of monarchy and opening the path to the Soviet Union. The damaged Reichstag in Germany in May 1945 symbolizes the end of World War II in Europe, when Soviet forces reached Berlin after a decisive phase of the European conflict, turning the building into a symbol of Allied victory and the deep marks left by that period. In the context of the 19th century slavery system, devices like this were created to restrict movement through small openings, showing the severe control imposed in 1863. These measures reflected the harsh conditions faced by people seeking freedom and human rights. Soldiers on the Eastern Front of World War II wear uniforms and helmets typical of the early 1940s, while using binoculars and carrying a camera around the neck, reflecting the intense mobilization of Soviet military forces in the fight against German invasions, a milestone of the global conflict. In 1933, a black and white photograph reveals a moment of contrast between a circus performer and a woman who was later taken to Auschwitz. This episode reflects the dramatic changes in Europe that year, when the Nazi regime was gaining strength and beginning to persecute several communities. In the early phase of United Nations force movements during the Korean War, American soldiers advanced through snow-covered hills near Seoul on January 14, 1951, marking a critical moment that highlighted the challenges of the terrain and influenced the planning of operations in the region. Members of a uniformed unit, wearing helmets and period equipment, celebrate New Year's Day 1952 in a mountain landscape. This photo shows the presence of troops that reinforced stability after the Korean War, a period that shaped global politics and the division of the world into international blocs. A German soldier, wearing a full uniform and helmet, stares into the distance while sitting on a church bench in Normandy in July 1944 during World War II. The scene reflected the growing Allied presence in the region, marking a decisive step in the liberation of France. The landing of the first United States combat troops at Red Beach 2, near Da Nang, marks a milestone in American intervention in the Vietnam War by beginning the formal military presence in 1965. This action revealed the complexity of the conflict and influenced international politics. In the difficult routine of nurses on battlefields in September 1918, World War I shows the importance of humanitarian care amid chaos. These professionals faced harsh conditions in simple tents and wooden structures, strengthening the vital role of medical workers during the war. Women dressed in training outfits and period helmets appear with equipment in a scene that points to a period of instability in Northern Ireland on February 15, 1977. This phase was marked by intense disputes between local groups and authorities, influencing decades of tension in the region and shaping the political and social landscape to this day. In the 1950s, a group of children watches a playground separated by a chain-link fence in a setting that shows American elements, such as a flag in the background. This era marked early steps in the fight against social separation in the United States, influencing important changes. The presence of Jim Jarvis, a child abandoned on the streets of London in 1880, highlights the beginning of campaigns to help neglected children in the city. His fragile appearance, messy hair, and simple clothing reflect the difficult social conditions of the Victorian era, which pushed welfare reforms forward. The crackdown on the alcohol trade during Prohibition led to the disposal of seized barrels, marking a difficult moment in United States history as authorities tried to control illegal consumption, promoting social changes, and strengthening government enforcement against banned practices. Rita Hayworth, a film icon, appears relaxing in a chair wearing a light summer outfit, reflecting the style of the 1940s. The black and white photograph highlights the period look, while the brick wall and decorative lights suggest a party atmosphere marking the glamorous culture of the era. Appearing in a simple setting, a figure in modest clothing speaks out while the Portuguese inscription criticizes the policy of the Czechoslovak government, reflecting a phase of political restrictions in the 20th century when socialist administrations strengthened their actions in Central Europe and influenced the world order. A military pilot wearing a uniform, sunglasses, and a service cap is inside an aircraft, reflecting the style of the 1970s. The scene points to the setting of training or air missions from that period, marked by specific equipment and the interior environment of an aircraft. The presence of period aircraft over London during the 1940s shows the impact of World War II on the city, which was marked by restrictions and major urban challenges. The view of St. Paul's and Big Ben reinforces the historical importance of the context, reflecting resistance and urban rebuilding during that period. The use of a horn-shaped listening device at Bowling Field in Washington until 1921 highlighted technological advances that came before radar, allowing distant aircraft to be detected among vegetation and old buildings, marking an important step in modern air surveillance. The construction of the Zeppelin LZ-127 Graf Zeppelin in Friedrichshafen represents an important milestone in aviation, as this airship changed air travel and showed technological advances in the late 1920s. Its completion strengthened Germany's prominence in the commercial airship sector. In the architecture of the Eiffel Tower, planned for the 1889 World's Fair, engineering innovations turned the Parisian symbol into a global landmark. In 1936, ideas such as making the second floor accessible by vehicles reflected the search for urban modernization, affecting transportation and mobility in the city. At the premiere of Requiem for a Dream in 1999, actors with clothing and hairstyles typical of the late 1990s illustrate a transition phase in fashion, while signs of a retro exhibition suggest growing interest in cultural memories. The Brooklyn Bridge, an impressive suspension structure, connects Manhattan to Brooklyn, reflecting New York's urban growth after World War II. Its construction, completed in 1883, strengthened the importance of infrastructure for the city's economic and social development as it recovered from the conflict. During the construction of the iconic Chrysler Building in 1930, a team of workers faced the challenges of manual labor in New York's skyscraper architecture, a symbol of urban growth and technological progress at the time, marking a period of intense industrial development in the city. At the height of the steam train era, women workers performed maintenance on locomotives at the Clinton Station in Iowa in 1943. This activity reinforced women's role in the war effort and in railroad infrastructure, which was essential for military and logistical transportation in the United States during World War II. The participation of the Italian team in the opening ceremony of the first Paralympic Games in Rome marked an important step in including athletes with disabilities. This initiative contributed to international recognition of the Paralympics, promoting greater visibility and progress in sports policy. Italian runner Dorando Pietri, who led the 1908 London Marathon, was eventually disqualified for receiving help after crossing the finish line, an episode that marked sports history. This contest highlighted the importance of rules and fair play in official competitions, becoming an emblematic moment in track and field. The discovery of the skeleton of a huge Tyrannosaurus rex, known as Sue, marked a crucial moment in paleontology by providing 90% of its bones, allowing detailed studies and expanding our understanding of prehistoric dinosaurs, while also becoming a symbol of advances in fossil preservation. Inside a space that looks like a museum or exhibition center for old inventions, 3 children excitedly watch a robot called Saigon from Italy. This black and white scene recalls the 1940s or 1950s, when robotics was beginning to spark fascination and major technological advances. The first recorded video game competition took place in 1980, marking the beginning of organized events that helped popularize electronic games. This evolution revealed the importance of the industry, which would later transform entertainment, influence generations, and open the way for technological innovation. In the early 20th century, France led advances in criminal science with the Bertillon system, which cataloged criminals by physical measurements and changed investigations. This innovation made identification easier and helped build databases, influencing future forensic techniques around the world. The presence of an old telephone in Norway in 1907 shows the expansion of telecommunications in the early 20th century. The portable device, combined with period decor and simple clothing, points to technological progress and its impact on communication, making contact easier in remote areas of the country. Martial arts trainers like Bruce Lee influenced culture in the 1960s, a period when the martial arts movement grew in the United States. This training scene reflects the growing popularity of these practices, which had a lasting impact on sports and global pop culture. At the beginning of the 20th century, the use of old exercise machines, such as a device that strengthened arms, shoulders, and backs, reflected interest in health through manual methods. Black and white photographs show simple settings with period clothing, marking the evolution of wellness training. Men with clothing and hairstyles typical of the 1950s exercised in a room with a wooden wall, using old gym equipment, worn shoes, and hanging lights. This phase marked the adoption of more organized physical practices and the pioneering of spaces focused on health. In the 1950s, feeding newborns in Moscow maternity wards reflected advances of the Soviet period, which prioritized basic care and modern infrastructure for infant health. This era marked an effort to improve assistance for mothers and babies in the Soviet Union. On the 1958 film set, the presence of a child dressed as a nun beside an iconic actress deepens the atmosphere of the classic The Nun story. This film marked an important phase in Audrey Hepburn's career, showing her talent and contributing to the success of productions dealing with religious themes. At the Delhi Durbar event of 1903, two guards dressed in traditional clothing and turbans accompany an American photographer, showing the colonial relationship of the time. This ceremony marked the accession of British rulers in India and reinforced colonial control, becoming one of the empire's largest celebrations. A samurai with a longbow, wearing traditional clothing from the Satsuma domain, symbolizes Japanese cultural resistance during the transition from the Edo period to modernization. This era marked the removal of foreign influences and the Meiji Reform, which rapidly transformed Japan. At the beginning of the 20th century, the Alcazar of Segovia stood out as a symbol of architectural endurance in Spain. During this period, the local population depended on the Eresma River for washing clothes and daily activities, reflecting a traditional way of life tied to its historical roots. The presence of the Statue of Liberty in the 1930s symbolized hope and freedom for immigrants seeking a new life in the United States, reinforcing the country's image as a refuge and an expression of democratic ideals that influenced the social and cultural development of the time. In Trafalgar Square, children play with snowballs in 1931 while adults watch in the London Square. This spontaneous scene takes place after periods of global economic crisis and shows urban resilience in the face of hardship, reinforcing the importance of public spaces in English social history. The activity at a Chicago bus stop reveals the impact of urban growth in the 1920s, marked by the advance of the auto industry and the modernization of cities. The presence of an old car shows transportation innovation, which helped drive the social and economic transformation of the time. On 125th Street in New York, a soldier gets a shoe shine in 1946, a post-war period marked by social and economic changes. This scene reflects the urban routine of a city recovering from the effects of the world conflict, influencing its culture and infrastructure. In the 1930s, motorized police officers patrolled Los Angeles wearing period clothing, classic helmets, and pocket watches, showing the evolution of policing. This transformation made police work easier and strengthened the state presence in the city, reflecting technological and social advances of that period. Princess Diana, wearing stylish 1980s clothing, appears at the wheel of a Ford Escort RS Turbo with the registration C462 on an urban street with commercial buildings in the background. The photo reveals the importance of her image in fashion and culture at the time, reflecting the glamour and social changes that marked the decade. Actress Debbie Reynolds and her daughter Carrie Fisher appear dressed in elegant outfits in the 1970s, a period marked by changes in fashion and pop culture. This image highlights their close relationship and the presence of movie stars at that time. In the 1970s, figures like Paul McCartney, Bob Dylan, and Cher gathered in relaxed settings to exchange ideas and strengthen the music scene of the time. These meetings marked the consolidation of rock and folk, reflecting a period of cultural and artistic innovation around the world. Celebrities like Cher, Elton John, and Diana Ross marked the 1970s with striking styles, wearing bright clothing and large glasses that reflected the vintage fashion of the era. These figures helped establish trends that still influence pop culture today, while strengthening the global entertainment industry. In the 1940s, Lucille Ball, a famous comedian, stood out for her voluminous, curly hair, bold makeup, and clothing with lace and floral details, representing the style of the period. Her success on television helped strengthen the entertainment industry in the United States. Bette Davis, an iconic Hollywood actress, stands out in a black and white photograph with curly hair and period clothing, reflecting 1940s fashion. The image shows a stone wall and strong natural light that emphasize her striking gaze, reinforcing her role in film history from that period. The presence of Rita Hayworth leading a conga line of sailors reflects the impact of cinema on popular culture during World War II. This era was marked by strong patriotic mobilization, with Hollywood supporting the war effort and promoting icons who lifted troop morale. During the filming of Casablanca in 1942, actress Ingrid Bergman appears on a set that recalls Morocco, showing Hollywood's effort to produce wartime films with attention to detail. This production marked a crucial moment in film history and popular culture. The union of famous actors in the 1950s reflected Hollywood glamour, marking a phase when the classic movie era became firmly established. Marriages like that of Fred MacMurray and June Haver in Ojai symbolized the cultural influence of the film industry on society at the time. Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin took part in a golf tournament in Los Angeles in 1972, marking a time when these entertainment icons strengthened their influence on American culture. Their connection to social events reinforced the link between music, movies, and sports in the early 1970s. Actress Meryl Streep, known for leading roles in films that address social issues, took part in important productions in the 1980s, a time marked by debates about ethics and workplace safety in the United States. Films like Silkwood reflect those conflicts. Dennis Hopper, an emblematic figure in film, lived through a period of cultural transformation in the 1960s, marked by counterculture and artistic revolution. His vintage look, with long hair and a beard, reflects the style of that era, which influenced social movements and changes in fashion and artistic expression around the world. Sid Vicious, wearing a denim jacket, graphic shirt, and mullet hairstyle, walked in the 1970s or 1980s to meet David. His attitude represents the punk rock spirit that marked those years, influencing youth culture and music. In the Bronx, in 1983, young people like Daryl Knight gathered at urban culture events such as Park Jams, which helped push the hip-hop movement forward. These gatherings strengthened local identity, promoting artistic expression and social resistance in the community. In the 1960s, artists like Marianne Faithfull gained international recognition, influencing pop music and youth culture. Leading new musical and performance trends placed the British scene in the spotlight, marking a cultural transformation that continues to this day. Entertainment celebrities stood out in the final years of the 20th century with glamorous clothing, modern hairstyles, and party lighting, reflecting the pop culture of the time. The presence of Hollywood references and the decor suggests an event connected to the entertainment industry, marking the glamour of that era. The young man in the photo, surrounded by Beatles posters and vinyl items, represents the cultural spirit of the 1960s, a period marked by the impact of the British musical and visual revolution. This decade strengthened the importance of vinyl albums and music, influencing future generations. The excitement of swing dancers reflects the cultural impact of the jazz era and the spirit of freedom that marked the United States in the 1930s. The clothing style and movement on the dance floor reinforced the importance of jazz in shaping a social and musical identity in the country. During the winter of 1933, a child in period clothing wore a wool hood while skating on an ice rink, trying to soften falls with a pillow strapped to the back, reflecting the simplicity and creativity typical of play at that time. Between 1931 and 1934, an artist dedicated herself to carving figures of fairies, gnomes, animals, and birds into a eucalyptus trunk at Fitzroy Gardens in Melbourne, showing the tradition of early 20th century woodcraft before modern technologies became widespread. In the 1950s, boys were dressed in formal clothing and played with traditional toys such as pedal cars, symbols of outdoor play at the time. The photograph reveals everyday childhood and technological innovation, since the old-style television was beginning to become popular. Using a clothes iron to straighten hair reflects beauty practices of the 1960s in New York, a time marked by innovation in fashion and culture. This era saw the growth of the salon industry and the beginning of home procedures that influenced beauty standards. A woman with curly hair, bold makeup, and leopard print clothing stands in a space decorated with gambling posters and a pinball machine that recalls arcades and bars from the 1970s or 1980s, reflecting an era marked by street entertainment and innovation in amusement machines. In the summer heat, a young woman in vintage swimwear celebrates the holiday season in a modern city with tall buildings and hanging Christmas lights. This scene from the 1970s shows the combination of fashion, architecture, and leisure in coastal urban life of that period. Stockholm, with its old center and historic buildings, witnessed the modernization of commercial services at the time, such as automatic stocking vending machines that appeared on paved streets, lit by hanging lights and English signs reflecting cultural and technological influences. In the lively setting of a movie theater in the 1940s, a large audience lines up to buy tickets, reflecting the growth of the film industry as it became a major source of entertainment. During this period, cinema became a powerful tool of culture and propaganda, transforming society. At the intersection of East End Avenue and 81st Street, women talk on the corner as old vehicles pass by, reflecting the urban rhythm of 1950s New York. That decade marked a phase of economic growth, cultural innovation, and social change that shaped the city and its modern history. A community gathering shows early civic practices on the southern frontier of the United States, with residents wearing old formal clothing and straw hats. The architecture of adobe walls and small windows recalls the colonial period, marking social development in the region that is now New Mexico. At the beginning of the 20th century, a family posed in front of a sign in English, reflecting Western influence in photography from 1910. These images were important for recording customs, clothing, and structures that marked a phase of global social and technological change. A British tourist trip to an airport in Sudan in 1936 reflects the expansion of international tourism at the time, driven by advances in aviation and the formation of colonial ties. This stage was crucial to the development of global tourism and cultural exchange between nations. A traditional classroom from the beginning of the 20th century shows teachers and students in formal clothing, with a chalkboard full of scientific notes and posters. This setting reflects the focus on formal education and the spread of knowledge during the 1920s, marking advances in intellectual training. In the early 1960s, the style of clothing, hair, and closed-toe shoes reflected the fashion of the time, while the architecture of old buildings, with wide windows, railed balconies, and traditional streetlights, shows the urban setting of the phase of economic growth and social change. Celebrating a social moment, a man in a suit and an elegantly dressed woman pose in front of a plain wall decorated with plants. This black and white image reflects an old photographic style, marking an era shaped by cultural events and social changes in the 1960s. The presence of a woman beside an iron structure with green leaves points to the transition between the 1950s and 1960s, when fashion and lifestyle began to change after World War II. This context reinforces the impact of social and cultural changes at the time. Leslie Bremer marked the 1980s by taking part in swimwear events in California, a period when visual style and summer-related productions gained attention. This phase of social change reinforced new cultural trends and pushed the growth of the entertainment industry. The presence of young people in an indoor setting decorated with hanging lights, stars, and candles reveals a typical party or social gathering scene from the 1950s or 1960s, when the clothing and hairstyles of the era were common. These moments marked important cultural and social changes in Brazil. In the 1960s, romantic gestures were often shown with elegance in outdoor settings, such as gardens, reflecting a period of change in popular culture. The image of a man lifting a woman suggests the glamour and optimism that marked the era, influencing future generations. Kim Novak appears with voluminous platinum hair, wearing a purple turtleneck sweater and sitting on a park bench with green wooden seats under leafless trees. In natural light, her look reflects women's fashion of the 1950s, marking an era of elegance and visual innovation. The figure of a clown with exaggerated makeup recalls silent cinema of the 1920s, when artists like Lon Chaney explored visual transformations to express emotions and characters. This innovation contributed to the evolution of theater and film, influencing the creation of caricatured and comic figures. The figure of a man with his wife and daughter in 1962 points to a period of strong political instability in the United States, shortly before the historic episode involving President Kennedy in Dallas. This scene captures a private moment that contrasted with the events that would mark that decade.